Hi, this is Peter Baracki, author of Crystal Lake Memories, welcoming you to the audio commentary for Friday the 13th Part 3. And I have the great pleasure of sitting here with four of the cast members who have been reunited for the first time in 22 years to talk about the film.
Hi, I'm Larry Zerner. I played Shelley.
Hi, I'm Paul Kratka. I played Rick.
Hi there, I'm Dana Kimmel. I played Chris.
And I'm Richard Brooker. I played the monster, commonly known as Jason.
This is where everybody in the crowd is going, who's that English? It's Pierce Brosnan playing Jason. It's like...
So now the footage we're seeing here is from Part 2. Now, when you guys were each cast, were you familiar with the series?
Not at all.
I wasn't. I know once I got the part, Steve Miner sent me home with Part 1 and 2 so I could watch it and see what I was in the middle of.
Yeah, there was a funny moment when I went back for my second or third callback, and Steve Miner and Frank Mancuso Jr. asked me, they said, have you seen Part 1 and 2? And I said, this is not my kind of movie. They looked at each other and said, just our luck.
Whatever. I think I'd seen, I can't remember, I think I'd seen one.
How many times, though, Larry?
Ah.
Now, were you guys aware that it was such a big phenomenon at the time? These movies were really quite huge. I mean, was it something you thought,
I had no idea what I was getting into. None at all. When I went in for my audition, I didn't even know what the role was for.
Really? They didn't tell you it was Friday the 13th?
When I went in for the audition, they told no, they didn't even tell me it was Friday the 13th.
They didn't tell you it was Jason and played?
Only after I got the role, they told me that it was actually Friday the 13th.
Well, Jason wasn't really Jason yet. He only had appeared in the second movie, and he wasn't an icon at the time.
What did you think when you found out you were going to play...
I didn't know it would haunt me for the next 25 years of my life.
What was your audition like, Dana?
Actually, I believe someone had seen me in another movie that I had done, Sweet 16 with Bo Hopkins and Susan Strasberg, and they basically just called me in. I met with the casting director, and he immediately took me over, and I met with, I believe it was Steve, and then by the time I got home, they were already negotiating with my agent, so it was just kind of, and then too, until I went in for that interview and actually met with Steve, I had no clue what the movie was.
I had the weirdest audition. I actually answered an ad in Backstage magazine in like August and never heard another word. And then I think somewhere on the web it said that Richard was an out-of-work actor and blah, blah, blah. No, I was actually working for a film finance company. And totally out of the blue in like February or March, I get this phone call going, will you come in for an interview? I said, yes, what time? They said 2 o'clock. I said, fine. I went down there at 2 o'clock and there was like 15 of the biggest, buffest guys standing outside. And I had no idea why they were there. And I just walked straight in, saw the person behind the desk and said, hi, I'm Richard Brooker. I have a meeting at 2 o'clock. And it was the two casting directors. And they said, well, we're waiting for Steve Miner. Do you mind waiting for a few minutes? I said, no, not at all. So we went into this other room. We sat there and we chatted for a while. And then Steve Miner came in and we chatted for a while. And then he turned around to the two guys and said, book him. And they said, well, what about the guys outside? And only then did I realize those guys outside were also there for the interview. And he said, forget them, send them home. And he said, well, don't you think we should get somebody just in case we can't make a deal with Richard? And they said, no, make the deal.
It was the British accent.
So there you go. Yeah.
It was the British accent for a non-speaking role. And so
Now, you had some experience, stunt experience, and acrobat experience, correct?
I spent 18 years in the circus doing flying trapeze,
Wow. Catching or jumping?
catching.
Jason was in the circus.
Miniature Burt Lancaster.
My experience with the casting process was really quite exciting in that a friend of mine told me that the casting people, I think it was
Dave
Bill,
Eman.
Dave Eman and Bill Lytle, and were just really nice guys. And this friend of mine who I was studying acting with said, just go meet these guys. They're just the nicest guys, which isn't always the case. You can have kind of less than respectful experience in the casting office. And so I went in, and originally they had me read for who is the character where he walks on his hands? Andy. That's what I thought I was going in for. And the casting guy said, no, you're just right for the lead, Rick. Can you come back and meet the director tomorrow or whatever. And I said, sure, why not? And they said, by the way, everyone comes in here dressed in kind of slacks, dressed professionally. I said, don't go there. This guy lives up in the mountain areas. He's a carpenter type guy. He's just kind of that kind of guy. And so I went into the interview dressed in blue jeans and kind of a parka jacket, and I carried in some 8-foot 2x4s and a skill saw.
No.
And I walked in, and Frank Mancuso Jr. happened to be there at the same time, and they looked at each other and they just loved it. And actually, I have a letter here that I found when I was going through my stuff from Frank Mancuso Jr. saying, "I will always remember you as the guy with the saw." And so that was, but from that point, they had me, because I don't think the negotiations for Dana went on for a while, or your availability or something, and they were concerned whether they could actually secure Dana. So they had me read and screen test for like 2 months with many other actresses in the process. And the whole time I really wasn't signed to the deal yet, and so I was very nervous, thinking this whole time it was a very kind of very unnerving experience to go on and on and on and on and not know.
And my story, I think, is on the bonus disc, which is I was a struggling actor. I hadn't worked professionally, but I was studying theater, and had this job in Westwood handing out movie tickets to a screening of The Road Warrior, and these two people come up to me and they go, "Are you an actor?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm an actor." And they're like, "Well, we wrote a movie and we think you'd be perfect." And basically, that was Martin Kitrosser and Carol Watson, the writers, and they looked at me, and I looked exactly like they thought Shelley looked, in their head. And I got the script, and it was like they had, like, a friend had written it for me. It was like that was me at the time. I'm not like that anymore. They are on the screen, So I went in and auditioned. Though I mean, there were other people up for the role. I never saw them, but they told me there were other people up for the role. So I went on auditioned 4 or 5 times. But that was how I got cast. I got discovered on a street corner.
Did you guys ever meet each other or rehearse or anything like that? This before you?
No, we didn't even have a table read.
No.
I wanted to just interject. I thought when they premiered the movie, when I saw it for the very first time in the theater with the 3D glasses, that the credits was one of the most exciting things. I mean, not just to see my name, but the way they came out off the screen, they came part way,
Right.
and then there was like a beat in the music, and they came out again to where they were between you and the person in front of you. That to me was one of the most exciting technological parts of the whole viewing experience for me.
For the people watching at home on the DVD, you're enjoying the movie, we hope, but really, if you could see it in a theater in 3D, really try to, because it's a whole nother movie, because all these shots, like the shot coming up with the pole, I mean, it doesn't make any sense on the television, but this shot here, in the theater, it's really cool.
Right.
It made it look like it stopped about 16 inches from your face.
Oh yeah, I mean, there were people in the theater that were like ducking.
Yeah. Every time blood squirted, people were like going like this.
Just point out that Steve Miner on the TV set playing our director, playing the news anchor.
So what are all your memories of Steve Miner working with him?
I like Steve. I've seen him once or twice since then, and I think he's a very talented man.
Mm-hmm. I've spoken to him a time or two since then, and we really haven't kept in contact, but it was really a fun experience working on this.
I actually try to find something, but because I've just been traveling so much, I haven't had time to do it. But I went up to Steve halfway through the production, and I said to him, "Can't we just have a little scene in here where my mask accidentally comes off so my face shows, so my mother actually believes that I'm in the movie?" And he thought I was serious. He goes, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. So the next day he comes onto the set and he's carrying this little bag and he goes, here's a present for you. And he gives me this bag and I open it up and it's a t-shirt and I still have it somewhere. And on the back of it, it says, "I played the monster in Friday the 13th. He says, "Wear this when you go back to see your mom."
That's great.
I thought Steve was extremely courteous as an actor. I felt him to be, considering the movie is not, the budget and time is not geared around the acting. it's around the gore, and in this case, the technological aspects of shooting a movie in 3D. I struck up a friendship with him. We played tennis a few times, and he was determined that his kid was going to grow up with a tennis racket and make millions so he could retire. But I also felt he was under quite a bit of stress because of the money that Paramount was putting into the 3D aspect of this type of this genre of a movie created another level of stress. And then the Luma crane, of course.
Yeah. You'll see a lot of these crane shots in the movie, which was very cool. And what I've learned now is that the 3D process was really, we were the first movie to do this kind of 3D
What was
process.
the guy's name? Marty Sadoff. Was it
Marty
Marty
Sadoff,
Sadoff?
yeah.
He invented this lens. So instead of having two separate cameras, you could have just one camera with these lenses on. And for some of the close-up stuff, it was just an absolute nightmare, a real nightmare. I mean, we used to do it again and again and again. The one scene later on where she gets stabbed with the poker in the stomach,
Yes.
36 takes
Wow.
just to get it right, just to get the action of the poker coming towards her.
Yeah, it was really, and everything took twice as long.
You
to
guys
light.
have already gone home. I mean, we were there till 2 o'clock in the morning, poking the camera lens.
No, Richard, we were eating. Remember?
Yeah,
You
right.
could never eat. We were always eating at that point.
Well, like you said earlier, Paul, these films aren't really known as actors' films. But in terms of character, I mean, how did each of you approach your character and kind of fleshing that out? I know Jason's not
Well,
much of a character,
it's
but
kind of funny because my role wasn't a talking role, and it was like you have no motivation, you have no this, you have no that. All you do is just kill people. So don't even ask me what your motivation is for this scene. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, even if it's a silent role, I think that you have to have some sort of motivation, and that displays in your character.
well, because Jason
so-
is technically a real person. He's not a monster at this point in terms
No.
of he's not a zombie.
No. And I mean, I've studied acting for many years, and you can play a silent role, and if you can't express yourself, from your emotions and your physical activities, then what's the point? It doesn't really matter whether you talk or not.
I know on the first day of the set for me, Steve said, don't do a character. He said, just be yourself. He just said, that's it. So, but there was a lot of Shelley and me. I was a struggling actor, and Shelley was a struggling actor, so.
Does that make it easier, knowing that you can just bring something out of yourself as opposed to try to...
Yeah, because of these things about, where he's trying to get, he's trying to get a date, or, I had dealt with that at the time, and so it was easy to have those feelings and use that.
I just was myself, basically. I really didn't. I think acting is so much about listening, and then the technical aspect of just knowing your lines and just being yourself. And I think you see that in the most prominent of actors. They are pretty much themselves in a role. But the role of Rick was so similar in age and and his increased libido that he was trying
Diminish. And for me, I think it was just kind of the same thing. I think they liked what they had seen in that other film that I had done, and I just kind of tried to be a likable character. And as Chris, went on through the movie, I didn't want her to be a wimp. I wanted her to be someone who could survive, which she did, and it was fun. It got a little stressful towards the end, as it was just Richard and me going through all of those scenes and doing things over and over and over because of the 3D aspect of this film. It got a little stressful as we were over budget, over time.
You had to go through a lot of emotional stuff too. I mean,
Yes.
When we did that scene where I was chasing you through the woods and grabbing you and dragging you, I mean, we had to do that 2 or 3 times, and she had to, bring out all this emotion time after time after time. So.
And
Yes.
your character has a real backstory,
Yes.
Chris. Is that something you talk with Steve Miner about?
Actually, by the time I came into this film and did it, I think they were actually shooting these scenes that we're seeing right now. And so they gave me the script, I read through the script, and I was on the set like in a day or two. I mean, it was really a quick thing. So there wasn't a whole lot of discussion until you know, we kind of got into some of the shooting, and then, like Richard says, it's just kind of a, you know, survival thing, and doing the emotions, and, you know, that does get hard. And this was all night shooting, basically. After we got through some of the beginning part of the film, it was all night shooting. So we would get there at like 5 in the afternoon, maybe 4, depending on makeup. I don't know about you, Richard. You had more makeup than I did. But it was long nights, and then we'd leave at, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 in the morning, and then have to go home and try to sleep in the middle of the day.
Yeah, really.
And then come back and then face, by this time it was all the emotional stuff of running and scratch. I have always joked that I got the part because I could scream really well. And that's all I did for my audition was scream. But it was fun.
Yeah,
Overall, it was a fun experience.
For the close-up stuff that we did with Jason, it was on an average about 6 hours of makeup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then you did your whole head cast too.
Well, originally they weren't going to have me play the whole part. They were going to have somebody do all the scenes where you can just like see his shadow and stuff like that. And then Steve Miner turned around and said, no, he said, I want him there all the time. So I was there every day for, what was it, nearly 9 weeks, 10 weeks shooting.
Shot 12 weeks total.
Yeah.
And that's your hand.
Yep. You still see the veins. And so for some of the scenes that we did that you couldn't really see, it was Jason, you could just see the silhouette. They had a kind of like a body mask that I used to slip on, and it was very easy to put it on and take it off. It was as hot as hell, but it was easy to get on and off. But when we did the close-up stuff, it was something like 11 different appliances that they glued onto your face. And then I couldn't eat because I couldn't move my mouth, so I had to sit there with tiger's milk, sucking through a straw.
Smoking your pipe.
And smoking my pipe.
We mean that literally. I just want you to know.
Now here's Larry doing his Richard Brooker impersonation.
not my proudest moment here. You were so much better than me. This is.
Now, how much of the film was shot in sequence? Is it more or less?
It was pretty much in sequence, except for the scene at the store, which we did first. But then, basically, they tried to go pretty much in sequence.
Yeah, 'cause they did
I
all
don't know
the
if they
stage
actually did or
stuff.
not, because
My scenes were mostly in sequence.
Not ours. Once
they.
No, we just kind of did it wherever we were at the time, whatever the set.
Didn't I?
Yeah.
So don't embarrass me. Just relax. Be yourself.
Would you be yourself if you look like this?
Yes,
Hi, Mrs. Sanchez. I'm Chris. We've come to pick up Vera.
she is not going.
What are they saying?
I don't know. I flunk Spanish. Hi, everybody. What are you looking at?
Is everything all right?
Just your basic old-fashioned mother problems. So, which one's my date?
Now, what's great about watching the movie today is we can laugh at the clothes. But did you guys have any input into what you guys were wearing?
I loved my outfit.
I did not. Well, I didn't know I could put input in.
I don't remember where those clothes even came from.
Effort me to keep them, but I know that Rachel and David, they're playing the Stoners, they had a whole different outfit, and Rachel didn't like it. She thought her body wasn't good enough. Her legs didn't make her legs look good, and they changed it. And,
Sandy Love was a costume designer too. Now, didn't she have something where she really wanted the color red to be kind of present throughout?
there was a thing about putting red, and everybody has a little bit of red, but I think that was her idea. I don't think it came.
I didn't know that. She was so sweet. I really liked her a lot.
She was nice.
Who was that?
Sandy Love.
That's what happens when you're pregnant.
And people always ask, what is that they're smoking, and what is that? It wasn't. It did smell like grass, but it wasn't grass. They told us it was oregano, because we had to eat it.
That shot always gets a huge cheer in the audience.
Yes, everybody loves the joint to the 3D. Ooh. And I'm going, my whole world is in that box. How I got the spear gun and the hockey mask and the fake axe and the wetsuit all in that little box, I don't know, but
You're a great hacker.
apparently.
There's not a lot of luggage I noticed in this van. There's like 6 people in this van. There's no luggage or no one has anything.
Peter, they're kids.
You're not supposed to recognize
Kids
those
on
sort
the
of things.
back.
Now, do you guys more or less say the script? Was there any sort of ad-libbing you guys did, or sort of kind of create sort of festive? Because you guys have a real natural sort of way. Like you guys just seem like you're just sort of friends and hanging out. It doesn't feel staged. Like
It happens when you smoke oregano.
Actually, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I think we all felt pretty comfortable with each other. I never really felt
It
like
was a good shoot. It was a good crew.
anybody, any of the
It was a
cast
lot
or
of fun on that crew. A lot of fun.
And you know, I loved the crew that
Yeah.
we
The crew were
worked
nice.
with.
They're nice guys.
Golly, some of those people.
In
were
fact,
just
the guy that
really,
climbs out of
really
his
nice.
car,
yeah.
Oh
Right.
yes,
Terry.
and he and his
Terry,
wife
Terry Ballard.
both worked on the set,
Mhm.
and they were just as nice as could be.
Okay, you guys, show's over. Let's move it back over here, all right? Come on, you guys. Hey, watch.
Are you actually driving?
No, sorry,
I
it was the
am.
group.
Isn't that great?
It was the group.
I do that now with my kids too. It became real handy to be able to drive that way.
Now we're coming up on Abel. Do you guys remember the guy who played the kind of crazy kooky guy with the eyeball?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Run away with you.
Didn't
I
you
think
try
I think it was the Crazy Ralph who died. The guy from the first movie.
Yeah,
He played
he
a
did.
similar role in the
Yeah,
first
I
movie.
think this is David Well. I
Really?
think he's still.
Yeah, I don't think I told you that.
Now, Larry, too, you have an interesting story about the catering on the scene.
I just remember the egg rolls. Well, you weren't there. They had the greatest catering, right? Everyone, the
The
greatest
guy who
catering.
was the caterer was the guy. He was a Hungarian guy called Tony,
Tony.
and he used to get hired by Clint Eastwood. No matter where Clint Eastwood went to do a movie, Tony went to do the movie too.
I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah.
And I just remember filming the scene, and he made these egg rolls, like just as a snack, and we'd go, and they were just so good. And at the time, I didn't care about my weight, so I was like, we do a scene, we'd have an egg roll, we'd come and do take two, an egg roll.
He was the one. He was the one that turned me on to breakfast burritos.
Oh yes.
He made the greatest breakfast burritos, and I didn't even know. Coming from England, I didn't even know what a breakfast burrito was.
Well, there probably wasn't any in 1882 like there is now. But
And then every Friday we would have steak and lobster for dinner.
we had leg of lamb.
Oh yeah.
It was
great.
really.
What was that eyeball?
They told me it was a sheep's eyeball,
Yeah, that's what they told
They said it
us.
was a
That's
real
what
eyeball,
Really
though.
hoping it was.
but it was a real eyeball.
Now, this was shot was it the Value
Values that?
movie ranch?
Yeah, this is all a movie ranch in Saugus.
Yeah. They're really nice guys. They've done very, very well in the industry.
Yeah, this actually.
And I've actually kept in touch with most of them.
Yeah, it's a famous ranch. I know they shot a lot of westerns there.
Yeah.
But now most of this was built, correct?
They built the whole place. They built the lake. They built the house.
Yeah. That lake is not.
The house is actually still there, but I think it's been modified for other movies. The barn is still there. And then what's that guy's name? Is it Walter Hill? He did a big Nick Nolte movie there right after that. Kind of a Mexican-style movie with Nick Nolte. They shot it on that ranch too.
Yeah, but that lake is what you see is what you get. There isn't. It's not like part one where they had a real lake.
You know, the lake's about the size of this room.
It was a pond.
No, that room. Not this room, that room.
Well, this is the first one I think they shot in California. The other
Excuse
two
me,
were-
see, I do have luggage there.
You're a
Wasn't
good
in the
packer,
car.
I came prepared.
You're a very good packer.
That's right. It's got my curlers
We're
in
only
it.
up for the weekend.
Now the ranch house too. Now it was sort of built. I know, sort of at a weird sort of angle to make it look better for 3D. Now, so there was no upstairs, correct? It was like a false.
There was an upstairs.
There was, there
Like,
was an
there was an
upstairs.
upstairs.
You went up that little spiral
Just
staircase.
a railing.
Yeah,
There's
there
no.
was
The
no-
rooms are downstairs. So, right? They didn't actually have those.
No,
rooms.
there
No,
were
they were
rooms
upstairs.
upstairs.
Weren't we running around
Yeah.
upstairs? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in the scene
one
where I
bed-
climb out the window,
Right.
yes,
That was
yes.
upstairs.
Yeah, no, we were.
From
I
the-
don't know where you guys were, but we were upstairs.
And then there was the
Maybe
one
he
where
built it later.
the gal gets killed in the hammock. I mean, that was upstairs. The bathroom was upstairs. The shower.
Yeah,
when
the
she gets
closet.
killed. Yeah,
There
that
was,
was
yeah.
upstairs.
And some of the stuff moved too, right? Didn't some of the walls move for the 3D, the camera?
Yeah, they moved the stuff a lot around, but you have to do that, unfortunately.
I remember this scene it was very cold,
Even the paintings
and
are still crooked.
at one point our breath was fogging, and we were supposed to be like, oh yeah, it's a warm summer day, and in between takes we're in jackets. It was pretty cool. We had quite a bit of weather on this shoot. Remember?
Yeah.
It got extremely cold,
Oh,
extremely
we got snowed
hot.
out for a couple of days too.
And then the bees nested in the cabin.
And
Oh
then
my
they didn't tar the lake properly, and all the water sank. I think they had to retar the whole lake and refill the whole thing. I believe that's.
Hey, you know more about this than I did.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's the expert. Was that the first thing you shot, Paul? Was that your first scene that you shot?
I believe so.
And you make an awful joke about it.
I know. That was really, I don't know who put that in there.
Yeah, as a kid, I was really
I
bad.
hadn't even
I
had the
didn't like
breakfast burritos yet.
it. And we all love your van, though, by the way.
Yeah.
With the shag carpeting.
Beautiful, yes, it's very 1982. Now, originally the script, you guys were supposed to be skinny dipping in this lake.
I wasn't, because as we hear, I'm not skinny enough. But yeah, somehow, for some reason, we couldn't get the girls to go skinny dipping. I don't know who made that call.
Your hair is
They
awesome,
said they were
Shelley.
going skinny dipping. And,
Yeah, I lost the weight and I lost the hair. So
Did you ever remember working with Tracy Savage?
Her mom was my agent and David Kadam's agent, and I believe perhaps Rachel's agent as well, Judy Savage.
I don't mean to be picky.
And we all studied together in a studio, and we all got kind of hooked up together. And she was very young.
Yeah, she was a child actress, and this was her last movie, she said. She kind of knew this was going to be her last movie when she did it. It was like her route to acting. She wanted to be a reporter.
You might like it.
and she became a very successful
Yes.
reporter.
Over the OJ trial.
Currently on the radio in LA, KFWB.
She was on NBC.
She was on NBC. Now she's on KFWB daily.
And Jeffrey Rogers, he's a doctor now.
Where's the bed?
Jeffrey Rogers is a doctor in New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought that?
Well, yeah.
Now, Paul, did you actually lift all this hay yourself? Was this you?
Yes.
Yeah, you did that, didn't you?
Of course it is.
It's a real
No, I just figured it was no big deal because they had it all set on good pulleys.
Look at
They
the
have good
rope. See
pulleys.
how tight the rope is behind his head?
I thought it was fake styrofoam
Now,
hay.
Paul, let's talk about the reaction you got with your shirt off.
What do you mean?
You get some fan mail from
You
that?
got a reaction?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I heard he had some fans.
Yeah, you've developed a new fan base over the years in this movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, we all do. So.
Are you dumb?
Now you're pulling up Dana as well in this thing.
I realize I'm just a dumb
Yes.
country boy.
I'm sure that was
Really
much
don't matter.
easier than the bale of hay.
The sweat of a worker on my forehead.
Right?
I gotta say, Paul looks just as good today.
And did you have to shoot this time? Was this a hard scene to shoot for you guys?
Place.
No, not for me. I had an easy ride. That's
She just had to stand it.
I think
He
again,
looks
if I
like he's
recall,
working.
this was it was a fairly cool day, and they kept spraying me down with that kind of glycerin
Yes.
water combo so that I'd look sweaty, and it was cold. And
Baby oil and water.
what's that?
Baby oil and water.
Baby, well, whatever it is. And so the more takes we did, I actually helped me because I was getting warmer, so I was okay with that.
Because it looks so stunning, you think it's, middle of summer.
That was my scream you heard. I mean, we did that in looping, but I had to do the scream myself.
It was actually a pretty cottage.
Yeah, it was.
It was a very pretty cottage.
Yeah, Rob Wilson King, the art director, did a great job.
Rob King?
Yeah, they
Rob
had to-
King was a great guy.
They had to do all this stuff in the sets. It's
Yeah.
all found
Richard,
stuff
how
that
do you
he-
remember all these people's names? So
Yeah, now, who are you? No, I'm sorry, I remember now.
No, I just remember people by how I killed them. He was the axe, he was the poker, he was the spear gun.
So this is another example, Dana, what you're talking about before, about your character being very much in charge, take charge, kind of, you're not mousy at all. Did you have any influences? You watching other horror films or
No, I mean, growing up, I always loved scary movies, but like I say, I was not familiar with these. I'd heard of them, but I'd never seen any of them. Oh my goodness!
There I am coming out. I have that. They gave me that axe. I have that axe, and I keep it. It's my one souvenir from the film. It's
That was really bad, though. I mean, I didn't even try to catch you.
No, I don't think you would have been able to.
That wasn't being too in charge.
I remember that. Everybody, I messed up a line, and everybody got mad at me, and they were all like, "Yeah, you're an asshole."
No, I never said
The whole
that.
crew started saying that to me.
This scene originally had more lines, right? Wasn't this a pretty complex scene? With different. Then they kind of added different takes together.
I'm going to the store. Can I use your car?
No.
Oh, you were telling me the other day they were.
What's
there.
Does anybody know what Catherine Parks is doing?
No, we couldn't find her. We
No clue.
It's Catherine, isn't it?
It's Catherine.
Catherine.
Yeah. Catherine, if you hear this, please give us a call because we're looking for you.
Ah, there's my car.
It's a beautiful car. And wait, let's talk about this.
This is a great shot.
Let's talk about this running
Yes.
scene. Okay, I don't actually run like this. It was the shoes. It's the shoes that made me slip.
You keep telling us that, Larry.
It looks like the jeans were a little too tight.
Did you have to go to the bathroom? Or
When I saw that the first time, I was like, what?
Oh, you know what? This makes me think this was
The
an
bees.
added scene.
Yeah.
This was not in the script. I think they figured out there wasn't enough time here, so yeah, we did a little extra thing.
And originally you were supposed to shoot this inside the ranch, but the bees attacked the ranch and they had to move the filming out into the field.
And I think they were trying to build some more conflict between her and I through this particular conversation. That, you know, I was like trying to jump back into the relationship, and you were telling her that, you know, I need some time after.
And you also changed the name of your character. You were Derek, I believe, in the screenplay, weren't you? Originally?
Yeah, well, the screenplay had a different name. I mean, they kept it kind of hush-hush, and I think they
Different
changed
title.
it to Rick. They changed it to Rick so that at the end of the movie, when she's going, Rick, it's not a two-syllable name. It was easier.
Easier to scream.
More screamable.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Here we go. This was 10 takes into the camera before I hit the
Throwing the
camera. They
wallet.
go like, get the camera, Larry. But it's tough. You got to, it had to, go perfect.
And you reshot this as a reshoot, right?
Yeah, we shot it,
That's my wallet.
and then, they hadn't really tested the 3D, and they had to redo everything here. And originally they had me wearing glasses. When we came back, they said lose the glasses. And someone has a picture of me, like in the car with glasses, and that was from the first day of filming that never got used.
Is this your rubber?
I never understand why she says, "Is this your rubber?" When she sees I threw her the wallet. It's my rubber. I don't. But whatever.
Nice.
Now, I know fans love these three characters, the Game Member characters. Nick Savage, Gloria Charles.
Nick's a great guy. He's a very nice guy. I've run into him a few times. I ran into him a couple of years ago, and we hugged, and he's such a nice guy. Haven't seen
May I please have the
Gloria and
wallet?
Kevin, but they had fun.
And then too, there's a big, kind of big chase scene coming out. Originally, this scene had a much longer chase scene following it.
Yeah, in the original script, there was my audition scene after the motorcycles. I knock over the motorcycles, then they chase us, and there's a whole chase where I'm in the car, and I think Catherine's supposed to be driving, and I take a champagne bottle and pop it, and that use it as a gun, and it hits them. They're on their motorcycles and they fly off, and I was like, wow, that's gonna be so cool to do this. But it got cut. I don't know whether it was for budgetary reasons or. They didn't tell me why, but
You didn't even thank me for killing these three guys, did you?
I didn't. It was
I should have just left them together.
That look on your face there is classic. When you see him first come out, and then after you hit the bikes. I love this. It's one of my favorites.
One time I did actually go back too far and hit the bikes. That wasn't me driving when they hit the bikes, but one time I did hit the bikes. They were not happy. Every time I got behind the wheel, because I never drove a stick before, I get behind the wheel and they go, "Okay, Larry's driving. Clear the set. Clear the set." And we go,
Now, is this real glass or is this all?
well,
glass stuff?
when he shoots this scene where he hits the glass, I'm not in the car. And then when you see the glass come on us, they were just throwing glass. So they just had this fake glass they threw on it. You'll see that it's two takes. So I'm not in, and then they threw the glass on us. Same here. And then they when you'll see the car spin around, the car is on a gimbal or whatever. So I'm not actually driving. That's not me driving. And then here, the car's on a thing, and they're just turning it around. The car's not actually moving. And then they cut back. Again, not me driving.
Oh man, you spoil it for me.
Yeah, really? I thought that was you, man.
That was a stuntman. They were not going to let me come anywhere near the camera. I think here, I think they're here. They're pulling the car, on a trailer. They were like, "You're not driving."
They still make Olympia beer.
What are you dating this movie?
Product placement.
Hey, what do you say we go get some
So it was freezing. I mean, it was pretty cold up because you shot this January, February, right? In 1982.
Did we start in February?
We
February, March.
started the third. Started in March, I think.
March.
Hey, you better watch out with that thing.
Now, as an actor, when they asked you to kind of do silly, I know you weren't doing the yo-yo, but doing silly things like stick things in the camera, I mean,
I'll break
is
your
that
string.
I mean, how do you know?
It's 3D. You gotta hit the. It's just part of the thing.
And that was a big deal. That it was all
A lot of it didn't
3D.
make a lot of sense when you were actually doing it until you actually saw it all put together and it made it. Was totally...
Yeah, they had the thing where we were gonna do paddle balls. You remember the paddle balls?
Yeah.
We were all supposed to hit paddle balls at the camera, and they just realized they couldn't make it work. It's too hard.
And they did the same thing with the popcorn. Remember?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, and everything took so much longer to set up because the lighting had to be exactly right. And then as actors, you know, you had to hit your mark exactly, whatever you were trying to get to go into the camera or however they were shooting it. So there was a lot of time to just be a little frustrated and sit around and
Well, the
wait.
thing that they had with that lens was that it had two different focal points. And so if you overstood your mark, you would take one of the focal points out and then the 3D effect wouldn't work. So.
This was one of my favorite scenes that we did.
I do like the sweater accessory there.
Yeah, really.
It's like your woodsman
Very
little yuppie sweater. there.
Just a moment where we got to connect a little bit.
I mean, is that something you look forward to as an actor in a movie like this? Since it's a lot of it's so much about effects, and you don't get too many good dialogue scenes.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, I think at one time I actually like complained to Steve Miner saying, "God, you know, could we get a few more takes?" And he says, "Paul, you know, this movie's costing so much money, and we're behind, and this isn't about your acting.
You have no motivation."
I hate to break this to you, Paul, but it's really about us moving on. So get over it.
We'll be all alone and do whatever we want. Nobody will see.
Sounds disgusting. Let's go.
I'll grab a couple of towels. I'll see you down there.
I think the pairing of the couples was interesting in with that this is like the beefcake couple, and then but Shelley and what was Catherine's character's name? Vera was such a dichotomy.
Yeah.
No, it was you know, that's not something that you'd necessarily expect them to do because everybody else kind of matched up or went together, and
It adds a little bit more conflict. And of course, Chuck and Chili were the Cheech and Chong variation.
yeah, and these guys
I have to tell you a very funny story while this is going on. My girlfriend is a trainer, has her own barn up in Malibu. And there's another lady came in there and was starting to do some teaching, some riding horses and stuff like that. And
Maybe we shouldn't do this, Ali.
all of a sudden, one day she comes up to me and goes, "You're Richard Brooker." And I went, "How did you know?" She goes, "My husband recognized you." I said, "Well, who's your husband?" And it was the guy that did the original cast at Stan Winston's studio
No.
in 1982.
Oh my goodness.
Can you believe it? And he still works for Stan Winston, and he still recognized me. And he said, "I know that guy. He played Jason on Friday the 13th."
You do get recognized, even though you don't.
Unbelievable.
Most people don't. You
And
don't
he's still working with Stan Winston.
I don't know, that scares me because you didn't look like you look as Jason. I don't know whether you should take that as a compliment or not.
How excited, did you do a lot of makeup tests? They do a lot of different permutations of Jason's look.
I don't know the complete story. Originally Stan Winston was doing it, and I had to go there for days and days and days and days, and they did a plaster Paris cast, and then they did the inverted cast and all this sort of stuff, and it went on and on and on. And he was the guy that made the headpiece that I used to put on. But then when they got to the close-up, those other guys apparently took it over because Stan couldn't be on the set. And somebody complained about that it wasn't scary enough. That the headpiece wasn't really scary enough or something like that. So those other guys redesigned the face. And then that's when they started doing those appliances. And the worst thing about the appliance was that you'd like be finished at 6 a.m. in the morning and everybody's tired, everybody wants to go home, and those guys would rip it off your face like you wouldn't believe. And just, "Go, we gotta go." And you'd just be raw. Your face was just raw, you know. And we'd soak it in some type of orange liquid to try to smooth it, you know, soften it up. And then you go home and you go to sleep and you go back and the whole thing.
Couldn't wear it home?
No. After about 2 weeks of doing this, I mean, my skin was just like sandpaper. It was terrible.
Yeah, you look at people like Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, and you wonder, I mean, how he just done that role for 20 years.
Yeah.
How did he do that? This scene, Paul, you said something interesting at the screening 2 years ago, because this scene always gets a lot of laughs because she has to kind of go through and, you know, do all these silly things, and the audience finds it really funny. You said, I didn't realize that in 20 years the film went from being a scary movie to a comedy, you know, and so I was wondering, you know, what made you think? I mean, you know, what made you think that? Why did that come into your mind? That
Well, when they did that 3D film festival at the New Art 2 years ago, and I brought my wife and daughter and her friend, and we're sitting there, and we were laughing, but the entire place was laughing, and it was this very kind of camp experience.
Right. It's just a progression of. I mean, horror movies today are nothing like this. I mean, they're more sci-fi, they're more high tech, and you know, so you know, they look at this and they go, you know, that's funny. In '82, it didn't look funny.
And I was scared. I was scared the first time I watched. I mean, by the end of it, when you were in the car and the whole hand through the window and all that, I mean, I felt that, you know, because I'd never seen the whole thing in one piece, when I first saw it together, it was very scary.
Ali is gonna be pissed he sees you screwing around. Now, come on. We got
fix
shit.
this.
2 years ago, I guess it was a year ago, I was in Peru. I went surfing in Peru by myself. I went on a surf trip. I just had to get away, and ended up, I met this really nice Christian couple down there, and he had just started the Christian Surfers Association in Peru. And so I hooked up with them because I was staying at this surf hostel with all these kind of grueler surf dudes, and I wasn't into it. Anyway, we're driving in from out where they lived on the coast into Lima, Peru. And I shared with them my experience of having been an actor and that I'd been in this movie. And this guy's wife turned around and just got this intense look on her face, and she said, "Oh my God, my cousin," and she's saying this in Spanish that her husband is translating for me. I was like 8 years old, and my cousin took me to this movie, and I wasn't supposed to go to a movie like that, and I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks because of that movie and you, and you know, the whole thing. It was just the whole international notoriety of this movie, and how it was so scary for this 8-year-old in Peru that she literally said she couldn't sleep for 3 weeks.
I started a website about 6 months ago, just because I got so kind of
inundated,
pissed off at somebody. And it's amazing how much email I get every single day going, you know, "You scared the living daylights of me when I was 8 years old," and you know, all this sort of stuff. Every day, tons of them. It's amazing, and from all over the world too. All over the world. Yeah. I even get emails that some guy sent me an email that his wife was dying from lupus and he'd lost his job, and he was a big fan, and she just wanted to, you know, get a signed autograph because he would know it would cheer him up and help him get his life back together. Sweet. I mean, just unbelievable emails.
I'm amazed at the following.
Yeah.
And at the different, I had one man track me down, and I didn't tell him he'd found me, but he was calling from Pennsylvania or someplace like that, saying that his son was this huge fan. And yeah, I'm amazed that after all this time, people are still, you know, involved and watching this.
Yeah. I must get 10, 20 emails a day.
The fans are great, and the website, the Friday 13th forum, I'll give a shout out to Brenna and Brian who run that. It's a great, and they're very passionate about it, and they've been very nice.
I actually got invited to an opening of a CD. Some band is having releasing a CD, and it's called Freak 13 or something. And they want horror celebrities there.
Well, Peter, you asked me when you were interviewing me for your book. You said, what was the most interesting part of the whole experience, or something to that effect? And my comment to you was that after over 20 years, that there's this intense following that borders on like a cult-like situation. I mean, it's just so fun, but also very unusual. It's kind of very...
Somebody says, you know, were you an actor? And I say, yeah, I was the most famous face you've ever seen.
That's right.
Well, what's great about the early Friday the 13th, the reason I think they have crossovers, what's great about the formula is you don't really see Jason. I mean, the first third of the movie you see shadow, and they really
Well,
build
that's
it
it.
up.
I mean, you can see the shadow. Yeah. And that's that they just trying to build the suspense thing going, you know.
Yeah, now everything's just so quick and fast and overdone, and
Even with the
action
hockey
movies.
mask, you don't even see the hockey mask till an hour into the movie.
Now this is, I know, Dane, this is one of your really big scenes, your whole sort of flashback.
Right. Right.
Did you do any sort of preparation for that? I mean,
Memorized.
Was
Yeah,
that-
because it was really the only part, you know, the only time that there was any continuous dialogue for quite a while. And,
You haven't changed much, by the way.
golly, thanks.
And where was this? Is this shot around the same location?
Yes, all of it was out there somewhere.
You know, Paul, there's a funny fan thing. I don't know, in the first movie, Mrs. Voorhees, the killer in the first movie, has pretty much exact same sweater as you have. There's been all these sort of big things on message forums about if you're somehow related to Mrs. Voorhees. I mean, what the fans come up with.
You took her sweater.
Yeah, you stole her sweater, or your son, or something, you know. It's amazing.
This is Jason's cousin.
Yeah, wouldn't it be funny if they did another Jason and it turned out that you were actually Jason? And this is you in real life, and then you could.
Can you juggle, Larry?
Yeah, I was actually a pretty good juggler at the time. I had studied juggling with a guy who was one of the best jugglers in the world, and I wasn't, but I had learned to juggle, and it was that was fun. But I think they threw that in because they knew I could juggle, and this is, I think, where the paddle balls were going to be, and we changed it.
So why did they change the paddle balls?
You couldn't get the paddle balls to get to the camera.
Control them.
You can't. They can come back to the paddle, but they won't go out to the camera, which is where you.
This is another example where the Luma crane, then they shoot above you with the big.
Oh yeah, they have the crane above us, and that's.
The Luma crane was actually pretty new technology when they shot this too. It wasn't at all.
Do you remember the T-shirts that the crew had that one day?
I
hate the Luma because of the delays. It would always.
Well,
take
they had the scene where he gets thrown through the window, which comes up later on, and the house was on a bank, and they built this huge track that went off for about 50, 60 yards to put the Luma crane on a dolly to bring it into the window. And it took 4 hours. It took like 6 hours for them to rig this whole thing up. And then the first time they went for a run down the thing with the Luma crane, the whole thing collapsed and the Luma crane went flying over. And it was like everybody was freaking.
Yeah, I know
It damaged the crane. They had to replace the crane. They had to rebuild the whole thing. It was.
Sure.
I mean, there was some things in this movie that they could have been done so much easier. So much easier. The scene where you actually went through the window. The poor stunt guy they got to do that.
Oh my
How
God.
many times did he do that?
It was the biggest joke in the world. And I actually went to Steve and I said, Steve, this is crazy. I said, I'm a circus guy. I said, I could get a 6-foot ladder and a little mini trampoline and I could go through that window any way you want me to go through that window. And he went, I know, but I can't get involved because of this and blah, 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 blah. And he was like furious. Because they built this ramp and then they put an air ram down there. And, an air ram's great if you want to go high or far or anything else like that, but if you have to go through a designated space, forget it. And he must have tried something like 17 times to get through that window. And he hit the roof and landed on his head, and then he hit his shins and put too much air in it, not enough air in it. He wasn't leaning enough, and I was just...
I know.
poor guy.
I was so appalled because I believe if my memory serves me correct that he was paid $750 for that day's work, and he was at that point. My character is dead.
God, that was more than what I was getting a week. I would have done that.
So it was a dead body being propelled through the window. So
Right.
he couldn't dive. And that air ramp, he kept hitting above the window, hitting below the window head first, no helmet, no protective gear, and it just went boom. And I'm standing there looking at this, just going,
that was crazy.
Oh my God, you could not pay me. I mean, now I'm a chiropractor and just this guy, what he went through to do that.
I heard he didn't get that much, but I just thought it was crazy that he did it. The poor guy. I mean, he just got. I mean, he was just his shins were roaring. I mean, he just. Were you there?
I was there. I tried not to watch it too much. It was.
I mean, the first time they put so much air in the ram, he went flying
Oh, yeah.
up and hit the ceiling, flat on against the wall like that with his head down, and just went boom, landed on his head on the floor. So they took the air out, and he couldn't even get through the window, and he landed up going halfway over the windowsill. And then of course they had to redo the glass every time, and
Every time.
it was just.
Now, Dana, in this scene, now, is it true that you had just sort of asked for some changes to the script?
It is. Like I say, the casting process for me was so quick that when I got the script, they had a couple of scenes in there. I think about how Rick and Chris had stayed out all night, and there was a line about how they had made love that night or something. And, you know, I just went to Steve right before I actually started shooting, and I said I would be a lot more comfortable if we didn't talk about that. And he was very, very good. He said, yeah, you can do whatever you want, just, you know, rearrange it. So, you know, and nobody knows that it's not there. You know, and I just feel like I know that, you know, this has a lot of young followers, and, you know, I think it's just good not to promote that kind of thing so much.
Now, this whole backstory, you know, did you talk with Steve at all about that? Like, what really happened to your character? Because there's certainly, you know, fans want to know, how was she attacked?
You know, there were a few times that I would ask questions, and the standard answer was just kind of like, I don't know.
We'll figure it out later.
So I just kind of went with that, and we just made it work.
Now, sort of choreographing this, I mean, you know, kind of had to manhandle her a little bit here.
Oh, that was fun.
How many times did you shoot this?
This was done about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, we didn't have to do this too often, but it took quite a while just to get everything set up and go over it and over it.
And you have to shoot this in one take, I'm assuming. That, you know, I know it's superimposed right now, but that whole, I mean, that's a lot of intensity to maintain.
Yeah.
She's a pro.
Oh boy.
Although Jason's wearing the clothes from part 3, although this is in the past, he didn't get those clothes until that day, so I don't know how that happened.
Larry, you don't have to bring that kind of stuff up.
Come on, sis, when have you been a continuity expert, right?
Now we do know you watch this every week.
Sunday morning breakfast.
Do you ever have a tendency to laughter? Like, you know, it always seems really intense watching it, but when you're shooting it, do you ever just break down into laughter at some of this stuff?
Oh yeah, and especially if, you know, there's something that happens that's really funny. I mean, I can't remember too much, because when we were doing this, I mean, I don't remember a lot of levity with this, because especially after everyone else had been killed off and we were really on a time frame, you know, we just had to get it done. They just, you know, shoot it and get it done. And so there wasn't a whole lot of time to just kind of have fun with it that way. Like on some of the other things I'd shot, you know, some of the people would intentionally goof up, you know, to have a fun little blooper at the end. And on this movie, we didn't intentionally goof. Isn't that right? With
No,
me,
but
I know you were never quite sure.
I remember the one scene which is coming up pretty much at the end of the movie, when you were standing on the balcony and I came through the door and you're supposed to hit me over the back of the head with a log of wood.
Yes.
And so we set everything up and the camera's rolling and everything else like that, and I open the door and I come walking out with my pipe, smoking my pipe.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Everybody, Richard, you're wasting time. Go on.
There wasn't a
was
whole
funny.
lot of time for that.
No, there wasn't.
In general, was a lot. I mean, before, you know, you had really intense the last few scenes, but was there a lot of good around? You guys all hang out?
Is it this scene? No, it's not this scene. But I have a very funny story about one of these scenes coming up in a minute,
The
which you
outhouse?
guys probably remember.
The one with the outhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah. David
That
King.
is coming up.
Yeah, this is it.
He's going in the
Oh. Well, they opened up the back of the outhouse to shoot this way, and then when they shot this way, he starts laughing. And the reason why he's laughing is every time they went to do a shot, one of the crew guys ran up behind him and started tickling his butt with the grass. And that's why he's got this smirk on his face all the time. And then for the final scene where he actually starts laughing, one of the guys went up and put a lighter underneath his butt. See, the back's open, and then when he sits down, when they switch the camera around from the front, they close the back off, but they only close it off to the toilet seat, so underneath the toilet seat was just all open.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the crew guys went put a lighter on his butt. You can see him.
Yeah, I think it's the shot right here. He laughs. Yeah.
He starts giggling because.
But it worked with the pot. The giggling worked. And
Heavy shit.
David's he's a stand-up comic in Seattle. So
Oh, really?
if
You're kidding.
No, if you're in Seattle, you can go see him.
Oh my gosh.
You know, he really had a lot of talks, he said, with Steve Miner about creating this character and kind of trying to make him funny and kind of goofy and clumsy.
He said he was doing a lot of Tommy Chong, you know,
Yeah.
and then he said he met Tommy Chong and sort of told him he was the homage or rip-off, whatever word you want to use.
So now, Richard, you know, the way you move, I mean, of course, your Jason is one of the most popular ones, the fans, everyone, you know. Did you work it out in terms of your movement, how you move your hands, your body? That's something like a language you kind of created?
I tried to, I think. Like I said earlier on, you know, you get told there's no motivation. You got to have something, and you know, if you're playing a role like that, the way you move and your body reactions and stuff like that can create a certain type of character, which I think I hopefully did.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you just look so cool and calm as you walk by, like you don't have a care in the world.
Another great thing about, they just took their time. They really built up the suspense and they didn't just throw it all in your face, you know, immediately.
Right.
Did you guys ever get scared on the set? I mean, I'm being out at night in this barn, this remote location.
The one time for me was when they brought out, it was like 3:30 in the morning, they brought out the upper torso model of me.
You didn't
and to
like
see
that.
an upper torso of yourself, you know, the head, I mean, it was just kind of very spooky to, I mean, who likes to look at themselves? And then when
That's
you see
right.
the model and it's 3:30 in the morning, you're out on the...
That's probably the question I get asked the most. Oh my gosh, what was it like? Were you scared? You know, did it scare you doing this? And I just look at them and say, no, it was really fun. You know, it was awesome to see how they put together the special effects and, like, in Paul's case, what they did to make those eyeballs pop out of his head. And, you know, I was just really fascinated by the mechanics of it all. And so that really was a challenge in and of itself, was to make it scary. Because it wasn't. I mean, and the crew was so nice and amiable, and everybody, you know, we were there for the long haul together, and it wasn't a scary situation for me at all. It was really interesting.
And of course, we're going to get the first appearance of the hockey mask.
There's the hockey mask.
Thanks to Shelley.
That wasn't me pulling on her leg. That was someone with scuba stuff. Then I just ducked down under there and jumped up.
And when did you guys first hear about the hockey mask? This is the first movie with the hockey mask, and of course it's a legend now how that mask came to be. You guys know?
I think we all. I'm gonna say I thought of it.
Oh,
Want to take
you
credit?
would.
You want to take
You
credit? You can take
would.
credit. Hey, I'm on the commentary. I'll take credit.
Paul invented it. You guys remember who came up with the hockey mask?
No idea.
No.
No idea. I think one of the things that happens in the movie is it's the first time you ever see Jason's face, and they wanted to try to conceal that as much as they possibly could until such time as it actually happened. So you could either keep Jason in a silhouette and never be able to see him, or you could actually see him in full size with something covering that face. And I think that's where the idea for the hockey mask originated from.
But I have that mask in the first scene, and I thought that's the mask they were going to use, and then I think they thought, I thought someone's a hockey fan, you know.
I wanted that mask, but they wouldn't give it to me. They absolutely refused.
Yeah, I wanted it
to let me
too.
have that mask.
Yeah, because Steve Miner was a hockey fan, and the legends he came up with that idea. Because in the script it just says a white mask.
Do you know who has the mask?
Well, they actually made Rob Wilson King, the prop master. They actually had all the masks made, and they made different sizes. And they had some oversized ones too, I believe. And at the end, I think with your hands, they made some slightly bigger, different sizes, things like that.
As far as I know, there was one mask, and we used one mask the whole way through the movie.
Because they had, I think they made 3 ones. One was the axe crack later on.
Oh yeah, at the end, for the end.
Yeah, they did slightly different ones. Now, why is Shelley going into the barn?
He heard noises. He's looking for Chuck and Shelley.
Now, was your Death Larry always off screen?
Always off screen. Yeah, it was always, although I think, I don't know, it would have worked if they had shown, I mean, I think, because you're supposed to go, is he joking again? Although obviously everybody knows he's not at that point, because Jason's killed a bunch of people already.
Yeah, no one's left to get the joke. So.
Which is always funny in horror movies. Everyone always wanders off, to go look for someone in the barn. But
here, no one knows that there's a killer on the loose, so it's not like there's any reason to be scared. Because people always go, "Why do you go in the barn by yourself?"
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Why not?
You're just out in the woods or not.
Yeah, there's a
You
picture.
don't know you're in Friday the 13th.
That's right. I didn't get that memo. Oh, that wetsuit was way too small for me in the headlight.
What, like the jeans?
Yes, okay. I had a little gland problem at the time, okay? I just got to point out, that's my mother, okay? It's my mother, and this picture today is still on my mom's refrigerator. She won't take it off.
Oh my goodness.
Really?
Now this moment
Well,
probably
not
gets,
that picture. That one got ruined. But a copy of that picture.
this moment probably gets the biggest cheer in the whole movie. I know when you see it with an audience when.
Well, if you look, I shouldn't say.
Never mind. I'm not going to ask.
Now, Richard, this is the first time you come out with the hockey mask. Is this something you worked on at all? Like, this is your big moment? This is like your big entrance?
It was 3:30 in the morning. Do you think we were really thinking about that?
Peter, you've had way too much time to think about this.
Well, in hindsight, the fans are like, it's like iconic.
We
now,
did about 5 takes of walking down the down here.
Oh,
because
yes.
my first walk, I didn't have enough character. So the second walk, we tried to put more character. I'm kidding.
Well, you have this great way about you of like, you're not like, maniacal. You're like really calm, like, I'm gonna kill this person. That's what kind of makes it creepy. Like, you're not totally psycho. You're just very methodical.
But it's a great shot.
Yeah.
I think he has a presence, though, that is menacing.
Oh, yes.
That his body movement, and so to your credit, Richard, your whole thing about being in character, I see the way you walk there is, and your body, the way you carry your body is very Jason. You created that for sure.
Thank you.
Now, Jeffrey Rogers, walked on his hands throughout this whole scene. Did you guys remember him? Did he always walk on his? Was he walking around?
He would practice
He
once in a while.
practiced, yeah.
It was the best one yet.
He'd be walking around. Well,
Yeah, shooting his
handing
killing was a
around. I don't know what he was doing.
pain too.
Me or the
Because they actually dug a hole into underneath the house and put the cameras in underneath it.
It was shot through glass, correct?
Yeah.
So you did all the gags, everything you did?
Where you going?
Everything.
Taking a shower.
Did you work with, was there a stunt coordinator you worked with on the film?
There was, and unfortunately, he died.
John
Leonard? John
Sherrod?
John Sherrod?
yeah.
He did?
Yeah. He died. I think he had some stunt accident.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Probably late 80s, early 90s.
I thought he was a nice guy.
He was a nice
I
guy.
thought everybody
He was a nice guy.
worked really well together. I know for my double, some of my things, I thought I'd be super stunt women and do some of them, But the falling out of the window scene, I opted not to do.
Right.
And he got a gal that I had worked with before on some other shows and brought her in. And she had done stunts for me before.
Yeah, this scene here.
Now, is someone holding him here,
No.
or is he just
Yeah,
doing
he
it?
was
Walking
doing
by
this.
himself.
That's great.
This was a lot of takes too.
Larry, don't spoil it.
The people want to know. They have a right to know.
Yes, they haven't
And I
seen
want to
this
talk about the
before,
necklace
right?
that will
Yeah, but
disappear from her
don't
neck.
give away the trade secrets.
I thought that's why they're listening to the commentary.
And see what's amazing about Jason is he's able to kill all these people and there's never any blood. He's just sort of like,
Yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah.
That's the question.
That's a talent.
Get blood out of a Persian carpet? Oh,
Yeah.
people do like that. Don't they?
Yeah. It's very
It was a lot of
psycho-esque.
work just for that 2-second shot. Not even that, 1-second shot.
Oh, yeah.
They had to put glass down. They had to get the camera in underneath.
Hours of work for each thing you see that just goes by so quickly.
And was that partly the effects, but also partly the 3D?
In a case like that was a lot of the effects. But sometimes it was the 3D as well.
Yeah, so actually in this film we had several issues we were working with at once.
Yeah.
There's a blooper coming up here. Maybe she'll have her pearl necklace and then it will disappear, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Just what?
She'll have a necklace and it'll disappear again, and it's little gags.
I'm sure everyone here is watching.
Well,
the
she
necklace
couldn't.
right
yes,
now.
She couldn't have the necklace.
watching a necklace.
See, there's the necklace.
That's a polite way of,
Right. Well, she couldn't get the necklace when she gets killed because
Yeah.
I think we went through them.
They had a problem with that effect, I know.
That was a very uncomfortable scene to do.
It's very strange that she doesn't know it's Jason underneath the hammock, but, you know, I guess you can't bring too much logic into it.
Well, yeah, but I'm lying underneath the hammock, and she's underneath the hammock, and it's a fake body on the hammock.
Yeah, her necklace is gone all of a sudden. Yeah.
Well, but Jason smells good. He
Yeah,
smells
that's true,
fresh,
yes.
and so she doesn't know.
I just taken a shower too.
And also, I know Steve Miner, they threw in a little cameo that she's going to pick up that Fangoria magazine, the first issue of Fangoria, and there's an article on Tom Savini, who did the effects in the first movie, and that was sort of like their tribute to Tom Savini by throwing the little Fango magazine here she's going to pick up.
There's been a Fangoria magazine around since then?
Yeah, it started in late 79.
Oh, I had no idea. I thought this was just because Dana Kimmel was involved. Magazine just for her.
There you go.
No, I remember. I thought the page should be that they. I think I said they should have dropped it on the page with Tom Savini.
Yeah, I think
but
she
she turns
page
over that page.
Yeah,
with
that's Tom Savini.
and she turns to Godzilla,
And the blood drips.
and the blood comes down. Yeah.
Of course, there's no blood anywhere else, but yeah.
They're like they're just a little bit of
I
blood.
watched this when she gets killed. I mean, it was this whole, and we did take after take after take on this too. Because that's her head, but it's not her body, and she's actually underneath the
hammock with
underneath
a
the
hole
hammock,
in the
lying on
hammock.
top of me.
I know she said the heat from the lamps was so hard at her, that's why her stomach bunges up,
Right.
because the heat was bubbling up the latex at points. That's what's so, part of the real appeal of these movies is, and maybe now they seem quaint, was, I mean, this was sort of the beginning of the whole makeup boom when they could start doing these elaborate magic things, like magic tricks. Popcorn's great.
Popcorn scene.
I know.
Now, I think the story now, didn't Rachel Howard, she was really sick during this scene, right? I think she had a
No,
heart-
she said the later scene
Oh, yeah,
where she's up on with the poker. I mean that's it.
Yeah, she wasn't feeling too good when we did that.
like 102-degree fever, I believe.
Well, don't do that to me.
Now these things too, I mean, it's amazing about a horror movie. It's so much about the music too. I mean, it's really just you guys walking around in the dark.
I hate to say this, but were you born when this movie was made?
I was 11 when I saw this. In the
Really?
theater. Yes. I remember I saw the ad and I just freaked out. I was like, oh my god, another Friday the 13th. I mean, when you're at that age, you're so impressionable. It's like Star Wars,
Well,
It's like Star Wars.
There's a lot of blood, Yeah.
Just like Star
And
Wars.
I was Spock, right?
Wait, did it mean to any of you guys to be involved with, like, I mean, you know this was going to, obviously you can't know 20 years later you'd be here doing
No.
this, but
No.
Not
you
at
think,
all.
wow, this is cool, I'm in this big franchise.
Not at all.
Well, yeah, I thought it was good, better than being in a movie where it wasn't part of a franchise. I mean, at least I knew people would go see the movie, and you could say, I'm in Friday the 13th as an actor, and people would know what you were talking about, as opposed to you're in some horror movie that no one knows about. So, but we had no idea they would still have this following, No idea. I mean, the thought was
supposedly when I killed Jason, that was going to be it.
Right.
And we never dreamed it would go on.
Yeah,
and
good
on.
job, Chris.
I
Kill him.
I don't know.
You were supposed to be the strong.
Well, I heard a lot of different things. I heard that was the final one, and they wasn't going to do another one. And then I heard that they were going to do part 4, and that's why part 4 was called the final chapter, because it was going to be the end of the series. And then I heard that they were going to do 13 of them. So, and I think without Paramount or whoever's involved in the movies now, I think they could have capitalized a lot more on the franchise of Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Well, let me just point out, this is maybe one of the worst death scenes in Friday the 13th history. But there I have a latex piece on my neck, and they have tubes running down my back that they're shooting blood into to make the blood drip. And it's cold, and the blood is coming down. It was not the most comfortable time.
Earned your pay that night, huh, Larry? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I did.
Didn't you go to Steve Miner and ask him how you should die?
I did. I said. He says, don't worry, no one's ever seen anyone die in their life, so don't sweat it.
His death too was originally a lot gory, and I cut it all out originally. His face kind of melted off, and
Right.
the MPA I think chopped that off.
No, I didn't know.
Do you guys have any reservations about doing a film this gory? I mean, at the time these movies were very shocking. Now they're not, but there's a lot of criticism leveled at people doing these movies. That were concerned.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, like Siskel and Ebert on the first film, they launched a crusade against Sean Cunningham. They published Betsy Palmer's home address and told people to write her and tell her how awful it was that she was in this movie. And,
You're kidding.
yeah, there was quite a bit of...
This is what Rachel said she was very sick.
Yeah.
In this scene.
And you said there was some difficulty with shooting this poker scene.
This took
Oh, yeah.
37 takes. Just
Did
that.
that.
Just to get that.
Just that little shot?
Just
Not.
that.
Oh wow.
Actually, no. Sorry. The next shot where you actually
Where it
see
comes
it go
through.
towards it.
So they have a fake body that went through?
Yeah.
So they had different bodies each time?
But no, I mean, there's a shot where they're coming straight. Yeah. Right. That shot.
Well, that's like the Trouble Money shot. I remember that in the commercial.
Yeah. That shot of the poker coming towards the camera, and it took like 36 takes to do that.
That's really creepy. I mean, it's still really...
When he's got to move, and then he's got to clean the blood off. And...
Now, this is sort of the third act.
There's our
begins.
vacation home.
And remember the wind machines? That
See, all this happened while you guys were out having your little chat. You know?
That's right.
Now, originally in the script, the scene was...
therapy with Chris.
Originally in the script, the scene was longer, and you... Abel, the guy who appeared on the road with the eyeball, originally was going to be in that scene and scare you guys. Did you guys ever film that? He kind of comes back.
Yeah, I have a photograph of us filming that.
Really?
Yes.
No, so you did.
Really?
It's in the script, but...
I'll show it to you. How I got it, I don't know.
Boy, we're all learning so much today. This is great.
I don't know if I even read the script.
Was there a lot of script changes? I mean, were you guys getting new pages all the time?
Yeah, they
was
kept
a lot.
coming up different colors.
Yeah, we had a rainbow-colored
Yeah,
script
really.
by the time we were finished. Oh my goodness, I guess I was there.
Now, Paul, your big moments coming up. I mean, you have probably one of the most famous death scenes of any Friday the 13th movie in history, with the infamous eyeball.
That was my favorite part when I saw it in the theater, and I don't know.
That
I
took a
remember I
long
didn't
time,
read it,
too.
but when it came out, I was like, yeah, that was because in 3D it was just like eyeballs out.
That took a long
It was
time.
a great.
To shoot.
It was a great idea.
Like Richard, I had to go a couple months prior to the beginning of the filming to Stan Winston's lab, and they fitted me with this upper body cast, and then they finally closed in my entire face, and it was a very unsettling moment.
It does.
When they finally say, okay, move your face around to free up the mold, and I couldn't breathe. And they go, okay, give us 9 seconds and we'll cut it off. And I'm just like ready to tear the thing off.
Breathe for like 9 seconds.
What did your parents think when they saw you get killed on screen?
Well, you know, I took my parents, their friends, my friend. We had like 40 people that went up to Westwood because I grew up in
We're all in Westwood that
We're all
night.
there.
We're all in Westwood
And I
that
brought a
night.
whole crew, and we have a
this is-
picture of them all sitting there in our 3D glasses. So I think my sisters were a little bummed when they saw their brother get killed. Now they probably enjoy it.
Did you watch your scene being filmed or have you crushed?
But yes, because
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a very technical scene.
I remember standing there and just thoroughly.
They had to
enjoying
hook a
it.
piece of
yeah.
they had to hook a piece of fishing line directly in the center axis of the lens.
If you watch carefully, you'll probably see it.
Yeah, in the video.
Oh.
And
And I got a bunch of free Nike stuff for wearing that.
good Nike ad.
I met this gal. Actually, I picked up on this gal in a supermarket. She worked for Nike doing, placement promotions and stuff. And I told her I was in this movie, and that they were going to shoot my feet dangling. And she goes, "Oh, if you put Nikes in there," and then I just had Nikes for like 4 years straight. Going after that.
Nikes. This is the shoe you want to wear when you're getting your head
Can I
crushed.
call her and say, I'm the guy that killed the guy with the Nikes?
That's right. Those were my feet next to his.
Forget playing basketball. Just get your head crushed. That's.
And there again, that scene was so. I mean, it's like a split second. And there's so much effort that goes into that one.
Yeah, it took
split
hours.
second.
Months ahead of time,
Yes.
fitting me to make that, and that mold of my upper body, it had a collapsible head, so they could reshoot it over and over and over, so it wasn't a one-shot deal.
So the nice thing is Jason takes the time to clean up. He puts all the bloody clothes in the
Yeah.
bathtub.
He's like a killer with OCD.
Yeah. This is another classic moment every Friday the 13th movie when the heroine realizes something is amiss.
It took me a while, but I finally caught on.
They're not dyeing the clothes red.
Oh, the tie-dye scene. I get it.
Now, pretty much everything after here, Dana, I mean, you're really running, screaming, jumping, panicking. I mean, how do you keep your energy level up? I mean, takes and things.
Part of it, I think, I was so ready to do this because there was so much time in between takes. And so, in essence, though, that was hard. It was hard to keep it up and keep, that energy going. But I was so excited to finally be able to do my thing that I think that fueled my energy.
Is there anything you ever brought to any of these scenes? I mean, was this always strictly choreographed?
Well, something like that scene that with the guy just falling out of the tree, that was shot way up in the beginning of the movie, way before it actually happened. It was totally out of sequence because he was, only there for a few days.
Right. Yeah, that is one of the ones that was shot.
Oh, they didn't want to keep him on hold. So.
Yeah. Practicing her scream early on, though.
Yes, that's why I say I joke. The reason I got this part was because I was such a good screamer.
Do you think of anything scary during all this kind of stuff? Kind of get that sort of mental piece.
Well, here we had, in this particular scene, we had wind fans going off outdoors, and we had, lights stuck up for moonlight and all sorts of weird things, and it was.
And this is the scene you were talking about where the guy
comes flying through the window
27 times.
And I was stuck in that corner for 27 takes. It was really tough.
The idea was that he was supposed to go over the couch and land on the floor, but he never made it, I don't think.
Well, they cut.
Now, is that you, Paul? Yeah. Another great big entrance for Jason. Another classic shot for the fans.
Yeah.
Great music there, too.
I know, the music really helps this whole...
Now, are those real props or fake stuff?
No, they're real.
My family gets very nervous when
This
I
hurts. This hurt like hell.
Knives and
They're throwing the books out.
She pushes this bookcase over, and all these books, believe it or not.
That would
hurt. That's why I put the axe above my head to try to protect my head.
I thought you were saying what a good job I did of moving that bookcase.
Job. You get a book dropped on you from a, one-story building, and it hurts.
That's another good creepy scene. You had to use some makeup here, so you had to pull the knife out of her bag. Was that a dummy bag? Was that you doing that?
Oh, yeah.
And here,
hey,
there's
anything
another
you
one.
see.
You'll see, remember Tracy's bathrobe is in the bathtub. And
Yeah.
here she's going to be wearing it.
You're right. You're the blooper king.
I looked up the blooper. Yeah, there it is. But it was in the bathroom.
If there's anything do you ever bring anything to any of these scenes, like, in terms of changes or cool stuff you want to do? Do you guys ever improvise any of this stuff?
Pretty much on this stuff.
This one took forever, too.
Notice the door's like kind of really paper.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Really?
It was a solid door, and I really had to hack to get through that thing.
Because it looks like cardboard.
Yeah. No.
Don't be such a wimp.
Okay, go, you can do it.
Anyone can do that.
I am a survivor.
Yeah, that's
I
right. You're the
look at it. That's
original
a solid-
survivor.
that's
It looks
a
like
solid-
cardboard.
It's cardboard, yeah.
Oh.
Is that a fake knife? It looks really good.
Wasn't that the retractable one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a good shot there.
You made some grunting noises. Did you do vocalizations for that talking later?
No, I did.
Another great 3D game. It's on a wire, I think. And you didn't do this stunt, did you? Out the window?
Just the beginnings of it. I dangled for a little while and I decided not to drop 2 stories.
Yeah, this is one of the rooms.
That was a real drop?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not you?
No, but that is.
That's her.
And then we had the breakaway jacket that
Right.
to work on that for quite a while. Get that right so that it would do it.
They're coming out, you have the thing with the log, right? This is the...
Oh,
hit them over the head with the log.
That was one thing I liked about this character, is at least she fought back. She wasn't always just on the run and hysterical and screaming.
No, yeah, she's very...
This is a great long chase scene. I mean, that's the great thing about the movies. You have the first act to sort of meet everyone, then you have the second act where everyone gets killed, and then you have the sort of the third act, which is sort of like the big emotional release for the audience as well as you acting.
This is where I came walking out with a pipe and a walking stick.
Oh, yes. And I was really ready to hit you with that log.
Nice.
Good
Sweet.
hand.
Completely set up where the van will be out of gas.
Well,
yes,
the gang took the.
very
I
well
thought
set
that
up.
made sense
Yeah, very
because
well
the
set
gang
up.
had taken the gas. They at least explained it.
Yeah.
Come on.
What was the reaction when the movie first came out? Like in that first few weeks, were you like everybody go, like did you get recognized everywhere?
I was hoping.
I did.
But it really didn't happen.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
I did because I would go because I had that afro and I was really recognizable and I'd go places and everyone, you know, Shelly.
I actually nearly got hit on that. I think you hit my ankle.
Oh, is that all?
Let's try it again.
You didn't like me after that, did you?
How many weeks did it take to shoot all this?
Oh, my.
2-3 weeks. Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, night shifts.
Yeah.
Right.
What does that do to your schedule? Is it hard to keep up that?
What schedule?
Sleeping schedule?
It's called foil in the windows during the day so you can sleep a
Yeah.
little bit.
And this is all rigged, right? The whole bridge, all that was rigged.
Gas.
And here's the scene that is everywhere.
Yeah, it became a lobby card. This is a famous photo. Is this more breakaway glass?
That at the time wasn't breakaway glass, but then they changed it over.
Is that a real fall?
Yeah, well, when I did that, I was to fall there, but then everybody thought I really fell and hurt myself after it was over. They, the wardrobe or the makeup gal was from, are you okay? I was like, no, I'm just...
Acting, thank you.
Hello, that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
So how many bruises did you get total?
Oh my goodness. Well, this next scene coming up, I ended up with bruises all over my legs when I shimmied up out on that beat and then flipped over, and it was very scary. That was the scariest thing. Actually, I didn't realize I was doing so much damage to myself until the next day.
Did you work at all with Steve Myers? This is sort of like a big moment for Jason. That, you sort of kind of go nuts and kind of go mad and kind of bring a little bit more into it. Did you give any direction on this?
Yeah, Steve did. You know, it was like, this is what you got to do, this is where you got to go, and, you know.
Do you ever think about like backstory? I know there's a little bit of backstory in the first movie, but do you ever think about, when you're doing Jason, I mean, do you try to think like him, like in terms of method acting, or is it more of a technical kind of process, like hitting your marks?
No, I think it's a method acting. I mean, you have to, you know, hit your marks, and especially with the 3D stuff, it's a nightmare. But I mean, you know, there's two ways to have done this. One of them was to do it really fast, and the other one was to do it kind of slow and methodically. And I think the slow and methodical way makes it scarier than going through it as a, you know, fast-paced maniac.
Going down, I feel sorry for you now whenever I see this scene.
Oh, yeah. And then, I mean, I was actually out over the middle of that barn on that beam. And now, I'm not really sure why I flipped over here. It just never made a lot of sense to me.
But it worked.
But, yes. And then each time we ended this scene and we would do another take, they would shoot this ladder up. And that was scarier than the whole thing. Me trying to get from that beam onto the ladder to get down.
How high up was that?
16, 18
That's
feet.
what I was going to say, 16 feet, I thought.
But none of that stuff that I just did over there was rigged. I mean, that was just a real barn. Like,
He's trying to tell these people what he can't get them.
No. This has got to be a fake Bale Hay, right?
No, it wasn't.
You pushed that up.
It wasn't.
No, but the one but you're gonna push it up
No.
like it's nothing.
And that was not a fake shovel, and didn't I like whack you pretty good with
On
that?
the back.
Yeah. You know, if I didn't say so at the time, I'm really sorry.
It's amazing. I remember as a kid, you just think everything's fake and everything's, but it's.
Yeah.
Great sound effect. Now you had to push him over the edge too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how did you do this whole hanging stunt? I mean, obviously, hang.
There was a rig. There was a rig on that was connected to it.
Harness.
Yeah.
Did you do that one? How many times did you do that?
Once.
'Cause I know they built.
I actually didn't do the actual fall. They wouldn't let me do it. I wanted to do it. They wouldn't let me do it.
Also, they built holes in the ground for the camera too.
Yeah. That hole. That was me. Just right at the end.
Yes, it's great because this is before CGI, so I think it makes it much more exciting that you know it's all real.
I wanted to do that, but they wouldn't let me do it. Insurance reasons.
So Dan, when this was just your first lead role?
But this scene coming up now, sorry.
Well, go ahead.
This scene coming up now is the first time you ever see Jason's face.
Yes. Oh, and I remember that was a big deal that night, too.
Yeah, because his appearance changed quite a bit too. In the previous movie, he had like long hair and a totally different face, and they weren't too much for continuity in these films. Yeah. There's always the big moment.
Well, you never saw his face in the previous movie.
The second one you did, yeah.
You did? I thought he had a bag over his face.
Actually, he looks more like he does in the end of part one.
Yeah.
I mean, where he comes out as a little boy and
shows you how much I know about
him. Well, no, it was always a big moment for fans. I always had the big unmasking at the end of every movie, and he always looked different. But continuity, it's wasn't the strong suit of Friday the 13th. Dana, was this your first lead role in the movie?
Well, I had been in that other movie I was telling you about. Oh, yeah.
Did you work on this at all, the lifting the mask? It's kind of a big moment.
I just want you to see my face.
That's right.
So he knows. Of course, no one notices that Nick Savage is still in the bottom.
I guess it was hiding back there.
This is sort of your big Jamie Lee Curtis moment here. You grab the axe.
Oh, yes.
Jason got so distracted. Yeah. Oh, I can chop this guy up. I'll forget her for a little bit.
Christine took care of him.
There's also another big 3D moment. Your hands and
boom.
Yeah, this.
In 3D, it worked a lot.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's famous in 3D and DVD.
It's like, just kick his head. Make sure he really.
Yeah. Don't chop his head off or anything. Now we're coming on. There's actually 2 endings for this movie. They originally shot a different ending, correct? Where you wake up in the canoe when you go to the ranch house and you see Paul.
You guys remember the other ending?
You guys remember that?
I was there. I remember. I saw him film it.
No, I get emails going, "What happened in the other ending? Why didn't they use it?" I go, "What other ending?"
Thank you.
I saw them film it. She comes in the thing, and then she hears Paul in the house. She sees Paul. She takes the canoe to the cabin. She walks along the front of the cabin. You see Paul in the mirror, in the window inside. She goes to the door. She opens the door. It's Jason, and he comes in and chops off her head. And I guess it wasn't you wearing the fake head. And that was the.
I mean, we did the scene with the scene when I come through the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this, I remember just the ending scene of getting dumped into the lake.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
And then what was her name? Marilyn.
Yes. Yes.
She comes out of the water and does it the same way as her mother.
Is that Marilyn?
In part 1.
Mm-hmm.
So was that you were saying was that Peter Schindler's wife?
I believe it was. Yes.
Okay, mystery solved.
Yeah, because they did shoot the original ending.
She looks up and she sees Jason in the window.
Yes.
Yeah, because they did shoot. There's some stills of the original ending. And,
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to see those.
Me too.
I think it was shot in the middle of filming. I don't know, and then they changed it.
You cut my head off, or did I cut your head off?
I guess
You cut her head off. That was
Oh.
the dream. It was a really good scene. It really looked, it was a great gag. It looked
Yeah,
good.
what was-
And the original script had us you coming into the barn and finding us all the bodies. That was in the original script.
Well, in the original script too.
That got cut way early.
You come in with I think it's called one of those long the Grim Reaper has on one of those things called
sickle.
Yeah, and you come in, you cut off his
see
head. Originally, they were going to actually decapitate him, but obviously they dropped that part to make sure there's a sequel.
So you didn't have the hockey mask on either.
Now, what was the last? Was this near the end? Was this the thing we did before the night shooting?
No, this was actually probably one of the last things we shot.
Yeah, it was.
What was the feeling like when the movie's ending when you guys get sad? It was over.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was a really good crew, really nice bunch of actors and actresses that worked on it. It was a lot of fun.
It's fun to be on location,
Yeah.
you know, when you're young and.
It's exciting.
It was exciting. It was fun.
What do you think it was going to do for you guys? I mean, after this, you expected to go back and do more acting after this?
Did we expect
Yeah,
it?
I mean, for to take it to the next level.
Yeah, it's been running.
Yeah.
See,
And I did. I went right after this. I started the movie with Chuck Norris. So I
That's
only
right,
had, like,
because
a
you had to
week.
finish at a certain time to go to that movie.
Yes, went back to Paso.
Here's Terry Ballard.
Now, did they ask you to come back for part 4?
No.
Would you have done it if they asked you to?
Why, she's the only one left
I
alive.
don't know. At that point, I was doing a lot of television work and a lot of the sitcoms, which I just really liked doing.
Into this whole madness, is this something, where'd that sort of come from?
We shot this a couple of times, and Steve was so funny. I'd say, "Okay, Steve, so what do you want me to do?" So he goes, just do something different." So I'd say, "Okay."
So what do you guys think the movies, when you're...
Well, the interesting thing here is you see the barn door move. If I can remember correctly.
Jason's alive.
Yeah. Didn't they show a shot?
Yeah, you'll see you in the barn.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know Jason's not really dead.
Yes.
Of course, as a kid, I believed it.
I believed it.
Because he'd been there like, whatever, 12 hours.
That's right. That's the longest he'd been in one place.
So what was the premiere like when you guys finally saw the movie for the first time?
Very exciting.
Yeah.
We had a cast screening a week before the movie came out. But at the first night in Westwood, I think, we were all there. And
Yes.
the crowd was sold out. And it was,
Yes.
the audience loved it. And it was a big hit movie. It opened at #1 for the first week. And
I think it's probably been one of their highest grossing movies.
It
of all
is.
the Friday things.
Yeah, it is.
Up until Freddy vs. Jason, it was the most successful of the sequels.
If you adjust for inflation, it's number 3 of all of them. Yeah, right behind the other two. I mean, they're all very close together. The 3D certainly helped to bring in more people.
Yeah. We opened the same day as Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Which, and you'd think, that was the thing, but we were the first #1 and Fast Times was 7.
Well, thank you all for reuniting for the commentary. Geez, I gotta think. Can I think of something for a little bit? Is that okay? Alright. That's a good thing. Stay out of the barn.
Yeah, that's what he was just saying. It was just a wrap-up line of, thanks for
So I'm not an actor,
coming.
right?
Well, you're a
I mean,
writer.
not a
You
fiction
were
writer. I didn't think of something. Good.
I think I don't know about how you guys, but I probably, if somebody asked me to do it, I probably would do it again. I don't know if you guys would.
Oh, I certainly would. It's a great experience.
but
fun.
now when I go back to acting, no, because I make a good living as a lawyer. I mean, you have to pay me a lot of money.
My kids want me to go back into it.
Yeah.
So, I'd probably do some stuff eventually.
The commute from Hemet would be.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
I get a lot of emails asking me to do that.
Bye.